I know that in this room, and for those listening from afar, there are souls exhausted from constantly striving to be strong. There are cries that cannot be uttered, questions of why, for which the answer seems to be the silence of heaven. Perhaps you're feeling a deep sense of disorientation, a profound sadness that words fail to capture. My heart goes out to all who are silently enduring pain, carrying burdens that feel too heavy to bear. It's easy to feel isolated when grief strikes, as if your suffering is unique and unshared. Yet, there's a timeless truth that transcends our individual struggles. But I want us to explore a liberating truth. God doesn't demand a joyful song from us when our hearts are broken. He gives us a hymn book, and within it are even the notes of lament. The Psalms are a sacred space, a sanctuary where our raw emotions are not only permitted but encouraged. They offer us a divine language to articulate our deepest fears or burning questions, and even our righteous anger. This journey isn't about escaping pain, but about transforming it. We will not shy away from difficult emotions. Instead, we will learn how to turn our very sighs into a prayer, an authentic melody before God. This is not a quick fix or a shallow promise of instant peace. This is a commitment to walk together, discovering how the ancient words of the Psalms can provide a voice for our souls, helping us to navigate the disquiet and find a path toward healing and renewed hope. Now that we've acknowledged our pain, let's turn to Psalm 10, a psalm that fearlessly voices a common, raw, human question: why? O Lord, do you stand far away? Why do you hide yourself in times of trouble? Psalm 10:1, ESV. This isn't a question born of doubt in God's existence, but a desperate cry from hearts that feel His absence when justice seems distant and suffering is rampant. It's the honest groan of a soul wrestling with the apparent silence of heaven in the face of glaring evil. This psalm gives us permission to articulate our confusion, our bewilderment, and even our frustration when God's presence feels hidden and His intervention delayed. Consider the cries of the Israelites during their slavery in Egypt. For generations, they endured brutal oppression, and from a human perspective, God seemed silent, distant, and inactive. Yet, their very groans and pleas were heard by God, even when they themselves questioned His presence. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit. Psalm 34:18, ESV. This enduring promise underscores that God is always near. Even when His actions are not immediately visible, their prolonged suffering was a period of intense questioning, yet it ultimately led to one of history's most profound acts of divine deliverance. This week, when you find yourself asking why or feeling God's absence in a difficult situation, take time to write down your honest questions. As the psalmist did, don't try to sugarcoat them. Then, consciously remind yourself that even your questions are prayers, and that God hears the cries of the afflicted, even when He seems silent. As we face the hard questions of apparent divine absence, Psalm 10 unflinchingly describes the unsettling reality of the wicked, who seem to prosper without consequence. It paints a vivid picture. In arrogance, the wicked hotly pursue the poor. Let them be caught in the schemes that they have devised. He says in his heart, God has forgotten. He has hidden His face. He will never see it. Psalm 10:2, Shri, ESV. This honest portrayal resonates with our own experiences when we witness injustice, bullying, or corruption seemingly go unpunished. The psalm doesn't shy away from the pain of seeing the arrogant thrive while the vulnerable suffer, and it captures the frustration when the world seems to operate outside of God's moral order. Think of Elijah, who, after a mighty victory over the prophets of Baal, found himself fleeing from the vengeful Jezebel, have felt alone, abandoned, and believed his efforts were in vain. While evil seemed to prevail, yet, in his despair, God met him, not in a mighty wind or earthquake, but in a still small voice. 1 Kings 19:12. This encounter reminded him that God was neither absent nor oblivious. Even when the wicked appeared to hold sway, God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Psalm 46:1. ESV. Elijah's journey through despondency highlights that God sees the oppression and will ultimately act, even when his timing is beyond our comprehension. This week, identify one situation where you feel a sense of injustice due to the actions of another. Instead of allowing bitterness to take root, intentionally pray for God's intervention and justice in that specific situation. As you, though, acknowledge that while the wicked may seem to prosper, their triumph is temporary, and God's justice will ultimately prevail. Despite the initial cry of "Why?" and the stark depiction of the wicked, Psalm 10 builds to a powerful crescendo of faith in God's ultimate intervention. The psalmist moves from questioning to confident declaration. O Lord, you hear the desire of the afflicted. You will strengthen their heart. You will incline your ear to them, to do justice to the fatherless and the oppressed, in order that man who is of the earth may no longer strike terror. Psalm 10:17-18. ESV. This is the turning point. The moment where the melody shifts from lament to a profound, unshakable trust in God's active involvement. It's a conviction that God is not a distant observer, but an engaged ruler, perfectly aware of every injustice and poised to act on behalf of the vulnerable. Consider the story of Daniel, who continued to pray faithfully, even when a decree made it punishable by death. He understood that earthly powers might rage, but God was sovereign and would ultimately establish justice. He was thrown into a lion's den, a seemingly impossible situation. Yet God shut the mouths of the lions. Daniel's unwavering faith in God's power to intervene, even when human circumstances were dire, served as a powerful testimony. His life exemplified the truth that when we cry out to God, He hears and will act in His perfect timing and perfect way. His trust was in God's ear, always inclined to the cries of His children. This week, choose one specific prayer request that you have previously felt God was silent about. Instead of resigning yourself to despair, dedicate time each day to pray that prayer with renewed faith, specifically asking God to incline His ear and act for justice. Visualize Him listening intently and moving on your behalf, strengthening your heart as you wait. We have journeyed together through the poignant symphony of faith, starting with the raw, honest question of God's apparent absence in our pain. We then face the unsettling reality of the wicked, only to rise to a powerful declaration of unwavering faith in God's ultimate justice and intervention. As revealed in Psalm 10, You have been led from moments of doubt and despair to a profound understanding that even our hardest questions can lead us to a deeper trust in God's active presence. You have learned that God is not oblivious to suffering. Instead, He is intimately aware, actively listening, and will certainly act on behalf of the afflicted. Now, let us together declare a confession of unwavering hope. Though the melody of my life may waver, I still believe you are the conductor. Though I may not see the light, I still believe you are my song. Lord, you are my strength and my psalm, my fortress and my anchor in every storm. I declare that my trust is in you, and in your perfect timing and unfailing love, all things will work together for good. You are my ever-present help, my refuge, and my Redeemer, and my soul finds peace in your certain justice. I invite you now to come to the Lord, allowing Him to reharmonize your soul and grant you His profound peace. Lay down your burdens at His feet, trusting that He is intimately acquainted with your every struggle and longs to bring you rest. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May He make His face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May He lift up His countenance upon you and give you peace. May your heart be continually renewed with a song of hope, and may you walk in the strength and comfort that only He can provide. Amen.